In this video, we're going to take a look at the different applications of the characteristics of functions and how we can use what we know about functions to answer different sorts of questions. So our first problem that we have here is that the ordered pair -4, 1 and 4, 3 make up points on the graph of a line. We want to write the equation of that line. Now next year and the year after, you guys will learn how to do this without the graph. You'll do this algebraically. You'll be able to find the slope using a formula and use that to find your y-intercept. But we're going to stick with the graph because this is still new. We're still kind of learning how everything works. So the first thing I'm going to do is plot this ordered pair. Remember that the first coordinate is your x-coordinate. That's your side-to-side coordinate. The second coordinate is your y-coordinate. That's your up and down coordinate. And so this is the point -4, so left 4, and then 1, up 1. So that's our first point. Then we also need to plot our second point. So 4 would be to the right 4, and then up 3 since it's +3. And now I'm going to connect those points, doing the best that I can to connect those. And now we want to look and see what we know about this line. And if we look at this, we look at the slope of these lines, slope of this point, we have a rise of 2 and a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have up 2 over 8, which reduces to 1 over 4. And I'm going to actually use this slope to plot my line a little more neatly, since we kind of curved a little bit when we connected the dots. So I'm going to rise 1 and run 1, 2, 3, 4 to this point right here. Rise 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can see that even though this line curved up a little bit, we actually want to be right here crossing the y-axis at the point 0, 2, which makes our y-intercept 2. So we're going to fill all of this into our equation, our slope being 1 over 4 and our equation being 2. So that gives us an equation of y equals 1/4 x plus 2. All right. We also want to be able to look at a relationship in one form and identify the equation that matches this relationship. When we're given the graph, we're going to have to check the slope and the y-intercept. Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can identify which of these 4 equations matches the graph. All right. If we look at this line, we see that it crosses the y-axis at 0, which means that b must be 0 in my equation. If we look at each of these equations, they all have y-intercepts of 0, so unfortunately we can't use that to eliminate any options. But next we can also use our slope. So I'm going to pick 2 points. I'm going to rise up 2. I'm going to run 1. So my slope is 2 over 1, or 2. The only equation that has a slope of 2 is d, so I know that that has to be my answer. Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can figure out which equation matches this table. Plug in the x values and see if you can figure out which gives you the y value that you want. All right. So what we're going to have to do here is look for a pattern. The first thing that we can do is look for any adding or subtracting. So here we see -4, -6, and -8. That's not the same each time, so that's not going to be the pattern that we look for. We're not going to be using any addition or subtraction, so we know that A and B aren't the ones that we want to use. All of our equations that are left are proportional relationships, and in a proportional relationship, remember that the number that's our slope is equal to y divided by x. So now I'm going to check that for each row in the table. 0 divided by 0 is not going to give us an answer, but we know that that's in any proportional relationship, so we can skip that. Next, 2 over 6 reduces to 1/3. 3 over 9 also reduces to 1 over 3. We can divide each of those numbers by 3. And 4 over 12, each of those is divisible by 4, which gives us 1/3 again. So the correct answer here is D. All right. We also want to be able to match up a graph with a table. We can do this a couple different ways. We can look for the points that we see in the table. So if I check table 1, my first ordered pair would be 0, 0. My next ordered pair would be 1, 2. And that point is also on the line. And my last ordered pair is 2, -4. Unfortunately, that last point is not on the line, so that's not going to work. We can check each of the other tables this same way. So go ahead and pause the video and see if you can figure out which table represents this graph. The last table is the only one with all 3 points sitting on the line. For both tables B and C, as soon as I check the first point, I see that those aren't on the line, so I don't even need to worry about checking the rest of the points in the table. There is another way that we can solve this problem. We can write the equation of the line and use that to figure out which table matches that equation. This line crosses through the origin, so it has a y-intercept of 0. That means that the point 0, 0 must be in the table if x is equal to 0. That would eliminate b and only b right at the beginning. Then we can use our slope to figure out the rest of the equation. So we have a rise of 2 and a run of 1, giving me the equation y equals 2x. So I can use that to check out the rest of the tables. 0 times 2 is 0, 1 times 2 is 2, but 2 times 2 is not -4, so A is incorrect. We can check C. -1 times 2 is not 4, so that's wrong, and by process of elimination, D has to be the correct answer. All right, we also want to be able to match an equation with a situation. We've done a little bit of work with this before, but we're going to continue to practice with this in this lesson. We have Ben, who washes several dogs each day. He is paid $25 to wash each dog. We want to know which equation best represents this situation. If X represents the number of dogs that Ben washes, and Y is the total amount that Ben is paid. For questions like this, I find it's often helpful just to sketch a table to see what Ben's income would look like based on the dogs that he washes. So I'm going to have X and Y, and we don't have any flat rate or starting out fee, so if Ben washes 0 dogs, he's making $0. If it's $25 for each dog, if he washes 1 dog, he's going to make $25. If he washes 2 dogs, that's 2 $25 payments, so he's going to make $50. If he washes 3 dogs, that's 3 $25 payments, so he makes $75. Now we can look and see which of these equations would best match our table. If I look in the first row, I see that when X is 0, Y is 0. That means that my y-intercept, or my b value, must be 0, and since A and C have b values that are not 0, they can be eliminated. Next, I'm going to look at B and D. In B, my y value is equal to 25 times my x value, whereas in D, y value is equal to 1 over 25 times x, or my x value divided by 25. So we know that these are both proportional equations, so I'm going to add that extra column to my table, that y over x, and see which one matches. Again, we skip the 0 over 0. 25 over 1 is 25. 50 over 2 is 25. And 75 over 3 is 25. So B must be the correct answer.